Ladies and gentlemen, it is September. It is back to school time of year, and what we like to call back to the flu time of year, because we spent the whole summer outside enjoying the fresh air, the sun, running around the trees, and now we go back into boxes and we're crammed into those boxes like sardines. And what happens when you do that? That's what we're going to be talking about right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV network. I'm your host, Scott Paton. Joining us as usual, Martin Pytela, life coach, health coach, any type of coach. How you doing, Martin?
It's a good thing. I'd like to put a real strong image on this. The younger the child, the more this applies. So especially the daycare and kindergarten, when they get together, well, children especially, they explore everything with their mouth. And so they drool on everything, touch everything, lick everything, whatever. So it's on their hands, on their stuff, on their pens, whatever. And then they touch everything and then touch each other. So the younger the child, the more intense this oral exploration is, and they exchange everything with one another. So we have been in isolation for about 3 months where these kids were not interacting so much. So now they are. And so they're exchanging all of their internal representations. We call it the exosome. Some people call it the virus, but it's one and the same thing. It's what comes from within, goes out, and now gets explored by everyone else. And so the child is exchanging with everyone in his environment, and then he goes home and exchanges with everyone in his family, and then his family goes to work and exchanges with everyone out in the work. You get the picture.
Awesome. And so what can we do about it? I mean, it's a very clear problem. It's a problem that the governments and the medical establishment have been trying to figure out for decades. And, people just, you end up getting sick because it's also the parents, right? I mean, they've spent a lot of time outside and now they're spending more time indoors in their own homes, right? Watching TV, not as active.
Well, there are these two theories. There are two theories, Scott, the germ theory and the terrain theory. And the germ theory says there's a creature outside of you that's going to come into you and cause you illness. And the terrain theory says only when your inner terrain is fertile enough to allow this to bloom, blossom, and grow will this happen to you. And I put to you that this works because when a flu epidemic hits the classroom, not all 30 children go sick. 5 or 10 get sick. The 20 are fine, right? And then the 20 go home and then somebody's grandmother gets sick because it transmits that way. So it's the terrain. Right. And the terrain itself is, well, we came upon the terms called comorbidities, right? When the corona came through, corona is really just a flu, really. It's just that this one was loaded heavily 4 years ago. What you have is comorbidities, and they are things, mainly metabolic problems. When you're not converting food into energy efficiently, you're going to end up with things like diabetes, blood pressure problem, immune system issues, arthritis, stiffness. We talk about all of these different illnesses. Tiredness is an awesome indicator. When you don't have a lot of energy, that means you don't have much energy to spare, which means that when something hits you, you have hardly anything available to fight it.
Right. That's a really good point, because we don't often think about when you are under attack by something and your antibodies need to get going. But if you're tired, they're tired too. And you're not going to put up as good a fight as you would if you were rested and at full speed, right?
Right. So these are the tools we have, right? pH balance, oxygen, reactive oxygen species, herbals. I mean, we can certainly pile stuff on. But I tell you this, it's hard for me to fix with a pill what you have screwed up with a fork.
Right. So we're getting back into what you eat and what you drink is not helping.
Yeah. So if you have comorbidities, they're yours. You have built them, you have created them. You need to think again about reversing yourself through the process. De-age yourself. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I'm certainly younger internally than my calendar years relative to my peers, but that still doesn't mean that I'm perfect. So guess what I have? I have this cute little bottle here, and I have filled it with a 2% Amazing O. This is my homemade label because it's my homemade bottle. This is a 4-ounce bottle with a sprayer on top. And watch this. Right? A mist comes out of it. It's a mister. And what's inside of this is a 2% solution of Amazing Soak. A teaspoon of the concentrate, the rest is water. I use filtered water, but any water will do. And whatever you spray this on, the ORP, oxidation reduction potential, goes up into oxidation, extreme oxidation. So when you spray it on your hand, you have eliminated all living critters on that surface. So if you spray it in your throat and inhaled it heavily, deeply into your lungs, you have taken care of whatever is there. They don't survive 650 millivolt of ORP. I do. You do.
So, Martin, what about, we often talk about good bacteria, bad bacteria. Is this going to affect the good bacteria as well?
Yeah. Gram positive, gram negative. The gram negative are the guys with thicker skins and more resilience and less benefit in our inner terrain. And the gram positive are the more desirable ones, but they are thinner skin, more fragile, easier to damage. This stuff, this oxygen, goes mainly after the gram negative. So you will benefit greatly. If you have something bad going on in your digestive system, you would call it the stomach flu, you take not this 2% solution, but you take the concentrated stuff and you put 12 drops in a glass of water and do that for a few days, and all your inner terrain is going to be restored and made whole again. The balance will improve in such a way that you will be more oxygenated and less sick. So
very interesting.
This is the time for every one of you out there to notice. When you come to the Life Enthusiast website, life-enthusiast.com, type the word amazing. Same word that you would say amazing grace. This is Amazing Soak and Amazing O. And when you find that, make sure you buy some and have it at home, because when the situation arises and you need it, you need it now. You don't need it 3 days later. You have to have it on hand. We sell it in 2-ounce, 8-ounce, 16-ounce, half-gallon, gallon. If you're seriously ill and you need help with oxygen, you need the larger quantities. But even the small bottle will do you for this event. Just 4 days ago, I came home and I thought, I'm not feeling right. And I had this feeling, just down in here, one of those adenoids was, you know that sensation. It's sort of a prickly, something is poking you in there. You know that it's some kind of a problem. Well, I did just what I demonstrated. I sprayed it in my throat, did that 3 times, and woke up perfectly whole as if nothing were going on. And I do this every time I come back from a sketchy encounter. Like back when we had the corona raging and everybody was worried about staying 6 feet apart, I couldn't care less. I came home from any encounter, I spray, and I know that I have disinfected the whole darn thing. People who have worn masks would spray their masks, both the inside and the outside, with this. and that takes care of both making the mask less onerous and also letting you inhale through it this stuff that kills all the unfriendlies.
Martin, let's talk a little bit about the power of oxygen. Okay, so in other words, like, why is upping the oxygen so important for our health? And I would say, like, right off the top, one thing that they've measured in the atmosphere is the fact that the oxygen levels today are fairly significantly lower than they were like 300 years ago. I don't know how they measure it, but
I
yeah.
didn't know that. I mean, in general, I
Yeah.
understand that the oxygen represents somewhere around 20 or 21% of the total, the rest being nitrogen.
Yeah, it
Carbon
used to be
dioxide, the
23.
horrible thing, is only 0.4% at the moment.
Right. So yes, but let's talk a little bit about how important having the
Right.
right amount of oxygen is and why we may not have that.
Right. Well, so of course you're breathing, and what you're breathing in is this air that's 20% oxygen, and your red blood cell presents itself in your lungs into the alveoli where the air is coming into contact with the blood. And right there, the potentials are such that the carbon dioxide is released and oxygen is attached to the red blood cell. And you can see it, the blood that is oxygenated is much lighter color than the blood that is not, right? And you can see that the arterial blood, if you ever cut an artery and it starts squirting, it's a very, very bright colored blood, whereas our venous blood is darker. Anyway, so oxygen onto the red blood cell through the system reaches all the end points, and that's where the oxygen gets handed off to the extracellular fluids, which then gets transferred to the cells. And inside of a cell, you have mitochondria, which is a tiny little furnace which converts food into energy in presence of oxygen. So it's sort of like burning wood, right? Wood is stored energy in the form of carbon. You light it on fire in the air and it starts burning. And if you have bellows or just yourself blow on this, you bring the oxygen supply up, it burns brighter. And that's what's going on inside your cell. If you have more oxygen, you convert food to energy more efficiently. I'm talking too loud. Caused myself a bit of a tickle in my throat. So, oxygen, right? Without oxygen, then you have deficiency of the effectiveness in which you convert food, starchy or fatty items, into energy. Therefore, you'll be choking. It's sort of like a car with a air filter that's plugged. So no matter how hard you step on the gas, if you're not getting enough air, you're going to be just sputtering. That's about it, really, Scott. Are you in?
So if we're not having if we're not getting the oxygens into the cells in the amounts that they're required, the cells are going to be tired, and you're going to be overloading your toxins.
Yeah, suboptimal. Of course, now you hit another point, which is the oxygen carrying capacity of the body fluids. pH balance or pH of the fluid affects its oxygen carrying capacity. It's optimal at 7.35 on the pH scale. When the number gets lower, that's more acidity, you start losing the oxygen binding and carrying capacity. The extreme expression of that is called acid rain. When that fell on lakes, it made the lakes so acid that no oxygen would stay and fish died. You had dead lakes, acid rain. Well, so this can happen inside of us. If we over acidify, we start losing our oxygen carrying capacity. So manage your pH wisely. We talked about that in other times.
Right.
Yeah. Right. The balance between fats and
so
carbohydrates.
Right. So mom has got sick kids coming home from school.
Yep.
And you had mentioned, you can't fix with a pill what you cause with a fork. So
Yep.
let's talk a little bit about what mom should be feeding little Jimmy and little Susie compared to what she probably is based on what you see when you walk around a grocery store, which is pop, cookies, ice cream,
Yeah.
chips.
All of the hyper or ultra processed food items are detrimental. They're the 5 items of death, which is refined flour, refined salt, refined sugar, refined cooking oil, and pasteurized homogenized dairy. Those are definitely problem foods. Now, the better ones would be something like an organic apple, a salad, a stew, a stir fry, any one of those kind of things that you cook from scratch, that you know what the ingredients are from, and they should definitely come from biodynamically managed fields. There's this thing called regenerative agriculture. Look for that. Look for organic and regenerative, and buy as much of it as you can, because those contain the real food, not the ultra processed, thinned out, calorie rich, nutrient poor stuff. The second thing you need to remember is that there's this metabolic type. If your kid gets acidified by carbohydrates, you need to give them more fats. If your kid is more acidified by fats, you need to give them more carbohydrates, typically in the form of a fruit salad or, I don't know, vegetable salad, stuff like that.
Okay, so let's stop there for a second, Martin. If I give my grandkids who are between 4 and 14 stuff that makes them acidic, what sort of behavior would I expect to see?
Acidity starts with impatience, loss of social graces, talking fast, being angry.
So what you're describing is the temper tantrums that happen with the 3 or 4-year-old in the grocery store when they don't get something that they want, and kids running all over the place screaming. And
all of that is highly
acidic behavior.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's really important that we reinforce that with the parents. Like when you're looking at your kids and they're like behaving really bad, it's not that they're bad. It's that you've fed them something that made them really acidic, which causes them to run up and down the walls. And the poor teachers, right? If you give them a lunch that makes them acidic and they're running around and not listening and yelling and screaming and everything in class, that's part of the problem. So
now here's the tragic thing. The little miserable things, they like to trade lunches with one another.
Yeah. That happens too, right?
Yeah. You send him in with carrot sticks and a beautiful beef jerky, knowing that he needs that sort of thing. And he'll trade it for a pizza pocket and eat the damn thing.
Right.
I don't know. Right? Stuff.
So, but yeah, the point being is, watch what your children eat and then watch how they behave. And if the behavior isn't behavior you like, tie it to the food, because we never tie behavior to the food. And we know, like, have 5 beer. How do you behave? Like, not very well usually, right? It's not like it's a secret. I mean, there's lots of examples of things that we do that's not good for, not good for our behavior.
Yeah. Well, let's mention the other side. Over alkaline is equally bad. It's overly emotional, procrastinating, probably crying, and I'm not getting up. I'm not getting it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to, pulling the cover over their head and saying, I'm not leaving my room today. That's over alkaline. So watch that.
Yeah. How about sleeping?
Yeah, sleeping too much. Right? Refusing to get up.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Cool. All right. So we've got 8 minutes left before we head over to Telegram.
Let me give away a flu secret. If your kid is
Okay.
got a runny nose and dumping stuff and all of that, they're probably overly acidic. And what you want to do is you want to put them in a bathtub filled with a large dose of baking soda and Epsom salts. And if you have it, Dead Sea salts. So it's either Dead Sea salts or Epsom salts and baking soda. You want to alkalize the bath. If you happen to have it, we sell stuff. It's called Miracle 2 Neutralizer. It's a liquid concoction. You can just take an ounce of that, put that into the bathtub together with a half an ounce of Miracle 2 soap. It's going to make an awesome bubble bath. You soak the kids in it for 20 minutes, and they will come out of it feeling a lot better.
That's a great tip, Martin. Thanks for sharing. It's really important that people look at doing these sort of things with their children. And particularly like when they're really small, they always have baths. Like I know my grandsons, they're always in the bathtub. They're too young to be in the shower. So just dump a little bit of that in, let them play, and away you go. So we're going to be moving over to Telegram in a few minutes. We're going to put the link up for Telegram right now, and which is basically www.t.me/life&co, where we're uncensored, where we can talk to you about, answer your questions, whatever it happens to be, and we don't have to worry about being banned on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever we are, or wherever you're watching us right now. And so, Martin, the next thing we want to do is talk a little bit about some of the, before we went on the air, we were talking about some products that we thought would really help parents with their children's health. And Immugen is one that we thought we should talk about a little bit. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah,
about
the Immugen is a herbal tincture, so it's probably for the adults more than the children. It's alcohol-based, so it's probably going to be too awful for the child's palate, but the adults should have it. Like, this is the thing that you want to take with you when you go on an airplane ride, or this is the thing you want to have when you go in front of the group of children, or well, actually everybody, right? This is the time when you need this, when you want this, because you take this, it strengthens your immune system, it stimulates it, it kicks it up, and you feel better. Or a story. This gal I know, she was flying to Singapore from Los Angeles, a 12-hour flight. And she said, I catch every cold all the time. I'm sick all the time. And I said, well, take this. She took it before the flight, during the flight 3 times, and after the flight, nothing. And she said, I was surrounded by people hacking, coughing, sneezing, doing all kinds of stuff for 12 hours. Arrived intact, unaffected. It's that sort of thing.
That's a great story. So that's Immunogen. All right. And I think we only have 2 this week, which is, the second one is Resp
for respiration, Orega for oregano, or I guess that's the way you pronounce it. This is from North American Herb and Spice. They're famous for getting their oregano from Turkey, from the mountains on the high altitude Mediterranean type of, or Black Sea perhaps, climate. And this stuff is very potent. And so you can control your respiratory channels with that. It's awesome. It helps to, all of the oregano products, and we have many, help you with the immunity and help to control microbial growth. Like, you can use it in your mouth to control periodontal stuff. You can inhale it and swallow it. It just is antibacterial, antiviral in a potent way.
So how would you take it? Is it something that you would put under your tongue, put it in a glass of water?
We have it in drops and we have it in capsules. Both styles are available. Drops for people who can handle the intense flavor. It works instantly. Capsules for people who are wussy and need to swallow it. It's going to work still, but it's going to take an hour to kick in.
I think oregano is one of the big secrets of health. Like I just
Yeah.
find I get a extract of oregano or oregano oil or whatever, and whatever I have going on, I use it. Like if I have a little sore or whatever, or a bit of a cold, I'll put it on my throat, and I just like, holy smokes, like this stuff is really, really good. I just wish it didn't taste so bad. Like it is
Oh, yeah, the taste
really,
is yeah, you're
really
right, Scott.
hard to swallow. So
Yeah,
what I'll do
taste
is I'll put it under my tongue, and then I'll drink down water as fast as I can, and then I still like for half an hour. It's like, oh,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it
it's
works. Like it's just amazing.
yep,
It's just
it's an
amazing.
awesome thing for sure.
All
So
right.
we have
So
these three
with
things,
that-
right? The amazing oregano, and immunogen. That's all you need. You don't need to overdo it. And of course, manage your pH. Really, right? That's the
Right.
ticket. If you're
We have one comment from Stan, and I
Hey,
spent the day
Stan.
with Stan today.
Oh, that's
Hi
awesome.
Stan. We went to see giraffes and crocodiles and ostriches and Pumbaa, the warthog. We saw him, and I think we saw one other thing. I forget, but turtles, amazing!
All right.
And I got to actually pick up a turtle. So thank you very much about the great tip to control acidity in kids. Yeah, that's really important. So we're heading over to good old, where is it?
Telegram.
Telegram,
T.me.
right there, /Life and Co. Join us there. Ask whatever questions you want. You get us uncensored for half an hour to an hour. Actually, depends on when you stop asking questions.
Yeah, and bring your
Right.
friends. Tell everybody that
And-
Telegram is so much better than any other social medium because it is free. It is free of censorship. That makes
Free
it
of
a big deal.
censorship. Unfortunately, one of the founders is not free right now. He's in a French jail because he won't give them information that they want. So that's part of
he
the
will. He
battles
will
we
not
have today.
unlock. Yeah, he will not unlock the communication. He says it's privileged communication. People come to me knowing that they are protected, and I'm not giving it to you. If you want to chase criminals, chase them the old-fashioned way.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So thank you for joining us, everybody. This has been the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV network, restoring vitality to you and the planet. And we'll see you over at Telegram right after this.